You hear a lot about Mexicans immigrating to the US for a better life, but a lot more Americans are moving to Mexico and commuting across the busiest and one of the most heavily scrutinized borders in the world every single day to get to work in the US.
Like 5 hours. I've waited the maximum.
I've done 4, 5, and 6 hours of flying.
I wake up, my first alarm I think is at like 1:15 a.m.
Just have a better life here.
The American dream is to come to the US, and then mine is a reverse sueño to come back here and experience all the beautiful things that the city has to offer.
The number of Americans living in Mexico and crossing the border regularly to work in the US nearly tripled in 20 years, to about 32,000 in 2020, the most recent data available, while the number of workers born in Mexico doing the same commute declined 23% to more than 55,000 in the same period. Of those around 88,000 border commuters, the largest share, about 40%, lives in Tijuana, Mexico and works in San Diego, California. They mostly cross here at the San Ysidro border crossing, which processed more than 48 million crossings in 2025. That's nearly double the second busiest border crossing in El Paso, Texas. The commute has only gotten slower and more painful, as the US-Mexico border has become one of the most policed and scrutinized in the world. After all, controlling the flow of people, drugs, and goods through this border is one of this administration's biggest priorities.
I've had to quit a lot of jobs because of living in Tijuana. Yeah, I was late so many times.
In this video, I'll show you the extreme lengths more and more Americans are taking to have a better life in Mexico. I'm Helen, and I'm a former CNBC video journalist covering modern migration trends. Before we continue, hit that like and subscribe button. It would really support me in making more videos like this. It's 1 a.m. on Thursday morning, and we're on our way to go meet Zach, who is about to start his commute for his Thursday workday. And I haven't even gone to sleep on my Wednesday night.
You know, in the United States, I am Zachary. I'm Zachary John Bodin Gabriel. And then when I cross into TJ, my name is Zacarias Juan Gabriel.
Zach is a 35-year-old manufacturing technician at a biotech firm in San Diego, about 30 miles north of the border. He starts work at 6 a.m., but begins his commute at 2 a.m. to avoid unexpected delays and the lines that start around 3 a.m.
If I'm around too many other people who are agitated and angry and upset that they have to cross the border every day, that it's just like a tinderbox for destruction. And I know that from experience because I've had physical altercations with people who have cut the border line.
At 2 a.m., Zach catches an Uber to the border. He crosses the border on foot, carrying belongings he needs to get through the morning.
A change of clothes completely, and then today I'm gonna be running in the morning, so I have my running shorts. It's a big, oversized plushie that's super comfortable, and I use it kind of like a pillow. I take a little nap before I go to work.
Zach reaches his car on the other side by 3 a.m. He's usually at work by 4. Then he takes a nap in a wellness room before showering and working his shift from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m.
I wanted to emphasize that I love my job. So I'm usually outside of the house from 2 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. My coworkers all the time, they'll be like, oh, I had to wait 45 minutes in traffic. They're still sleeping at 7:30 a.m.
How are you not burned out?
Actually, I'm burned in. You know, this is survival for me. You know, like I am the sole provider for my wife and my children at a minimum. I have nobody to like lean back on. I have nobody to, you know, hey man, I need a favor. Hey man, loan me some money. I don't have another option but to show up every day and you know, give it 100%.
The cost of moving to San Diego and supporting his wife and their 2 kids would be prohibitively expensive. The largest share of border commuters living in Mexico is based in Tijuana. They're taking advantage of job opportunities in San Diego while also escaping its cost of living. I bumped into a vendor by the border who shared some of the major companies that border crossers work for.
We start working at 10 o'clock in the night because it's the time where usually the people comes to go across to work. People who works on Amazon start working at 10 or 11. There's another people working in laundry, and another ones for Ginomoto. And also we get the people who comes from work that way they come to get the dinner.
So this is breakfast for some people and dinner for other people.
Exactly. And lunch. and lunch as well.
He's part of the ecosystem of small businesses running practically 24/7, serving workers crossing the border and other travelers. Home to more than 3 million people, San Diego is the second most populated county in California. With a GDP of $267 billion in 2024, San Diego's economy is larger than 20 states and some countries. Biotech, healthcare, the military, and tourism are among the top industries. But San Diego is also repeatedly ranked as one of the top 5 most expensive cities in the US. I know what it's like to be priced out of the city that you grew up in. I was born and raised in San Diego. My parents bought a 4-bedroom house in one of the nicest neighborhoods in the county for $250,000 in 1997. My salary is not that much more than what they made at the time, but the house is now worth about $1.4 million. The typical home value has soared more than 60% in 8 years, to nearly $1 million by 2025. The typical rent has increased about 50% in the same period. This is the average rent of a 1-bedroom apartment in San Diego. In Tijuana, it's around 4 times cheaper.
When I was living in San Diego, it was a constant. I was always worried about my car breaking down. I was worried about having gas to get to work. It was just trying to get that rent paid by itself. Was sometimes it's like, oh, I better pull from this.
Amy McKeffey is a warehouse stock clerk in her 40s who moved to Tijuana in 2025 for the affordability and to live with her now husband, who she used to visit in Tijuana every week. In San Diego, she paid $1,200 per month for a room in a house with 4 other people. In Tijuana, she pays about $400 per month for a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. Every day, Amy Ubers to the border, crosses on foot, and then, like many commuters, takes the San Diego trolley to work.
I was trying not to get in debt. I was trying to live in the bare minimum, and I couldn't do it.
Vered Familiar is a 27-year-old Mexican-American safety technician at a shipyard in San Diego. She was paying $2,100 for a 1-bedroom apartment in San Diego. Vered grew up in Tijuana. She moved back in 2026, now paying $550 for a 5-bedroom house, though not necessarily in the best area, about 10 miles from the border. She misses living just a couple miles from the border back in 2022, paying $450 for a 2-bedroom house. But now she's been priced out of that area due to gentrification, partially fueled by foreigners moving to Tijuana. Over the past decade, home prices have more than doubled in Tijuana, becoming increasingly unaffordable for Mexicans. On a recent trip in February, I didn't find the pricing in popular areas to be that much cheaper than in San Diego. But I did think Tijuana was a lot trendier than I remembered it to be 20 years ago. Tijuana has consistently ranked as one of the most dangerous cities in the world, because of cartels fighting to control lucrative smuggling routes into Southern California. But the city is becoming increasingly known for its trendy cafes, craft beer, innovative food, art scene, and modern high-rises. While Americans are moving to Tijuana to save money, Mexicans are commuting to the US each day to make more money. Mexican border commuters working in the US earn triple what they earn on average in Mexico. But those financial incentives can come at a significant cost. Vered has been border commuting with her parents since she was a little kid living in Tijuana.
So my mom used to complain about 40 minutes commute doing the line. Then when I grew up, 1 hour was normal. And then commuting 2 hours, that was hard. And then lately, in a bad day, 6-hour lines.
I have a joke about this because I do comedy. It's like, you just gotta wear a diaper when you're crossing the border on a Sunday.
Ashley is a 29-year-old comedian, insurance agent, and server, born and raised in what she describes as a small-town redneck part of San Diego called Lakeside. She's lived in Tijuana on and off since 2016.
Sí, yo quiero comprar una, ¿cómo se llama?
Cartera.
Una cartera. Now, I got this bad boy, and best decision I ever made. Maybe the dumbest decision, I don't know yet.
Now Ashley is using a border crossing hack that significantly cuts down her commute, but can feel risky to her physical safety. More on that later. One widely cited study found that delays at the border cost losses of $3.4 billion in economic output and 88,000 jobs in the US and Mexico combined in 2016. Most of the money and jobs lost were in San Diego and Baja California. Without any changes, total losses were projected to hit about $5 billion and nearly 100,000 jobs by 2025. That's what happens when workers can't be productive, travelers can't spend their money on goods and services, and cargo can't reach the next point in the supply chain. Delays at the border can happen due to more layers of screening, limited staffing stretched thin, law enforcement incidents, and unexpected surges in legal and illegal crossings. The uncertainty creates a sense of anxiety that can be tinged with fear due to decades of traumatic border crossing and law enforcement incidents dominating the headlines. I felt that fear-tinged anxiety, even as an American citizen crossing back to the US on a weekend, simply to get home, not even to a job that my livelihood depends on. Anxiety that something could go wrong that would upend my entire day. Every day when crossing, Amy worries that Trump could shut down the border.
He can make a decision at the drop of a hat and have it implemented within hours, days. So you never know.
Surviving the border commute in 2026 takes hypervigilance and strategy. I'm gonna break down 4 different ways American commuters are making it work. But first, let's look back at how things got to be the way they are now. Because people used to commute between Mexico and the US with barely any restrictions at all. What's happened since then has shaped the porousness of the border and the amount of resistance commuters feel trying to get to work each day. People have been living in Mexico and working in the US since the late 1800s, when fast-growing US cities like El Paso, Texas, began recruiting Mexican workers to meet their labor needs, according to this academic journal of migration studies. Until the 1920s, workers could move virtually freely between Mexico and the US. At that time, the US Border Patrol was comprised of less than 100 men on horseback, based out of El Paso, who were primarily concerned with illegal Chinese immigration. However, post-World War I economic difficulties at home and fears of communism abroad led to new immigration quotas and more screening. Now foreign citizens needed a visa to cross the border. The layers of screening have only intensified due to increased fears of unauthorized immigration, drugs, and terrorism. In the 70s, 80s, and 90s, undocumented immigration from Mexico surged, setting the stage for an era of mass deportations. Many came to fill demand for undocumented labor that still existed after the government ended the Bracero program, which legally brought millions of Mexicans to the US on short-term contracts. In the 90s, more than half of people entering the US illegally came through San Diego, according to US Customs and Border Protection. Then there was the war on drugs. In 1969, Operation Intercept involved weeks of searching every single car crossing the US-Mexico border. Traffic slowed to a crawl, and border commuters even lost jobs because they couldn't get to work in time. After 9/11, border security became quote-unquote far more intensive. Before 9/11, the CBP used to examine a driver's documents, but not always their passengers. Now they screen everyone in the car, according to a report from the Congressional Research Service. Before 9/11, only 5% of travelers went through background checks using databases of criminal and immigration activity. In 2013, almost everyone was screened. More thorough primary inspections funnels more people into secondary inspections, where they can be interviewed, physically searched, and checked in more databases. After 9/11, the CBP also ramped up random secondary inspections.
The secondary inspection was a thing that happened like every year, maybe once in a year. Right now, it's maybe every 3 months that you get into it. This month, I got 2 times in secondary.
The attitude among CBP also changed. Border officers began to see themselves as fighting terrorism, and everyone crossing as security risks. They became more suspicion-oriented. More recently, 2021 through 2023 saw record levels of migrants from a growing number of countries arriving at the US-Mexico border. CBP staff were stretched thin, to the point of temporarily closing border crossings, so that staff could focus on assisting asylum seekers. To compensate for added wait times, the CBP designed fast pass programs for trusted travelers that many commuters say are a must, if you can qualify. An application costs about $120, and can take up to 2 years to approve. People are commonly denied from these programs for offenses like a DUI, forgetting to declare something at the border, or overstaying a visa. Amy has global entry, which allows her to cross using the Sentry lane. She often breezes past hours-long lines and crosses in 5 to 10 minutes. But even if you don't qualify, you can now pay up to $900 per month to be eligible for Tijuana's new Fast Lane program for border commuters that's taking pre-registrations. These are a few of the requirements. And there's another unofficial fast pass across the border that is not for the faint of heart: riding a motorcycle. Ashley crosses the border on her bike in 10 to 15 minutes.
If you want to move to Tijuana, risk your life and get your motorcycle license. It's worth it. You just kind of like, shoot, just like a little cut, you know, like just to the front of the line. I don't know, I think it's allowed. Everyone does it. I think it's fine. Nobody said anything so far. I pretend like I have Sentry, and then I cut through Sentry, and then I get to the border.
Fared switches between crossing on her moped, in her car, or on foot, depending on which lanes are fastest that day. She's constantly checking numerous apps and social media groups dedicated to sharing updates about wait times. But to keep things as safe, consistent, and predictable as possible without a fast pass, many people do what Zach does: start their commute at off-peak hours, many hours before their shift starts. For most, that's a recipe for burnout.
I would be gone from my apartment by 4:30, and I'd come back at 7 o'clock at night. And then I was like, this ain't it. The tacos are not worth it. No, they are worth it. They're worth the 10-hour wait.
Regardless, Ashley feels immense gratitude when crossing the border, because living in Tijuana is a constant reminder that unlike so many, she's entitled to cross and earn in US dollars.
So I always feel really guilty, you know, that I get to cross so freely back and forth. Like I wish it was as easy as like Mexican nationals to come to the US, because I love them and I want them there as well.
Do you feel like every time you cross, you're kind of like reminded of your privilege?
Yeah, I feel like I actually feel really guilty about that a lot.
Really?
I'm crying.
Aww.
No, I do. Like I feel like why am I so special? You know, like what made me like be able to have these opportunities? And sometimes I feel like I'm wasting my opportunities too. It's like people die crossing the border trying to get to the US for the life that so I feel guilty a lot.
For the life that kind of like you were just born into.
Yeah, like handed, like, you know, golden spoon fed. Yeah. Like sometimes you see like American expats or tourists who walk around and like with like a little bit smug and like arrogant, but I think we treat people just like we have that empathy and we treat them with kindness, and like we try to help the best we can. We can't fix the world, but we can fix like the people that we encounter. We can make their day, you know, we can get someone coffee, get food for people, like try be their friends, you know, just be really friendly.
A lot of border commuters are Mexican American like Fared, and don't necessarily cross with the same level of confidence as commuters like Ashley, Zach, or Amy.
Even if you live in Mexico and you are a citizen, you don't feel like it. You feel like a second-hand citizen because you're Mexican. And when you cross the border, you don't feel like you have the right to be there.
Meanwhile, Americans don't feel the same type of anxiety crossing into Mexico. It's a lot easier for them to make Mexico home if they want to. Zach married a woman from Mexico. They have 2 kids and only speak Spanish at home. They live with 13 of his wife's family members, who he also helps support.
Me and my wife don't want to leave where we live. You know, the moment that I cross the border, I'm free. You know, I'm home.